Hey guys, it's Mike with Riding in the Ozarks, and today we're going to talk about the first mod on my 2024 Harley Davidson Streetglide. Anytime you buy a new bike, the rider triangle is an important thing to consider. And that triangle is where are your hands and where are your feet for comfort. So bars are one of the first upgrades a lot of people do, and it was one for me. I had wished I had done it a little sooner on this bike, but it was one of the first upgrades I did on this bike. On this one, I do not regret getting it done from the dealership and having it from day one. It has already increased my comfort. I have ridden a full tank of gas without stopping over 200 miles, and I had no numbness, no aches in my shoulders, no pinching in my back, none of those things that people complain about from stock bars. Now let's get into what bars I have and how they compare to the bars on this bike. I'm going to give you some dimensions I took with the tape measure. You could go into a dealership with the tape measure and measure up, put your hands there, and get an idea if these bars are at the height you would want or if you would want to go higher. Now, in reference, to start this off, I'm about 5'8" and a half, just under 5'9". I'm not real tall. I'm not particularly tall in the torso versus the legs or anything else, so pretty average build for 5'8" and a half. Now, the bars we're going to look at today are LA Choppers, 12-inch in black, for the 2023 CVO Streetglide and 2024 Streetglide. And I'm not just going to tell you, hey, I like the bars and a bunch of fluff. I'm actually going to tell you how they fit on the bike. So if you go into a dealership, you could kind of get an idea where they're going to be at on the bike. And if you need to go higher and how much, you could even take a tape measure with, and you could get a better idea of what height bars you would want. So I have both bikes setting on little scissors lifts, so they're standing straight up. I didn't lift them off the ground, just got them kind of leveled up, and that's where they're at. I've already been taking measurements on the handlebars at different dimensions. Now, the dimensions on the 2024 and the 2016 are very similar. Wheelbase, weight, things like that. But what I just noticed, and we talked about it, was it seems like the fairing's a little higher on the 2024. So I measured to the center of the headlight here, and on the new model, it's about 36 inches, and on mine, it's about 35. Now, I have done progressive front suspension on this bike, but it should not have changed the height of it, really. I'm guessing that's pretty close to what it would be for someone else's bike with stock suspension. I have 12-inch bars on this bike and 12-inch bars on this bike, and they are considerably different in height. You can see I've got hand guards up here to help block the wind because they kind of set up above the bat wing. Well, the bat wing on this bike at the handlebar height measures 46 inches. The top of the bat wing where the handlebars are here measures 47 inches. So headlight's about an inch higher, top of the bat wing's about an inch higher. Those bars sit up quite a bit more over the handlebars, and that's because the height on them is 47 inches. Measuring to the end of the handlebar for height on these 12-inch LA Choppers is about 44.5 inches. These bars over here are actually from Burley, and they've got the little meat hook in them. I don't know, I can't say that all the bars that are designed like that are going to have the same dimensions, but it'll give you an idea. If you've been riding a 2016 or probably a Rushmore, I would say they're all going to be about the same for these things, and you know where your hands set now in comparison to the fairing. Or you could measure it before you go in and set on a 2024 and then take a tape measure and see where you are in comparison to the fairing there. I like the fact that these handlebars are more in line with the top of that fairing. I may still put hand guards on here like I did on this one because I do run heated grips. So all the wind protection you can get as close to the grip as possible helps keeping the wind from stripping that heat away from the grip as you're riding. Now, another measurement I took on these bars is from end to end. They're about 39.5 inches on my 2016. And I always felt when I was doing slow maneuvers, I was really stretching with that handlebar that was on the outside. On this one, they're 37.5, about an inch in on each one. And they feel better. They're a little lower. So it's just a little easier to reach when I do slow speed maneuvers in a parking lot. I've already tested it, and that's one reason I am happy with these bars. Now, one thing to note about these are slotted for internal wiring, and they accept OEM heated grips. That's great for me because I already got OEM heated grips put on. Since the dealer was doing free handlebars, I went ahead and bought a set of switchback heated grips and had those put on. Now, I used the switchback grips when I rode a road glide back at Spring Fling for 600 miles to do a long weekend demo. And I like the size of those grips. The grips on this bike are actually a little bit bigger. They're the heated Streamliner grips. They're a little beefier around. And I like the smaller grips. Just it's a comfort thing for me. Pick out which ones you like. You can do the Adversaries or some of those others, and they are a little larger circumference than the switchback heated grips. One thing that's new on the 2024s when it comes to heated grips is on the old ones you had a dial that you turned. On the new ones you have a push button, low, medium, high, off. You just cycle through it. Now, as I understand it, these will not work unless the motor is running. I can't say that I've actually tested that yet, but that's what I was told by the dealership when I picked the bike up. You cannot turn them on in accessory mode. The motor actually has to be fired up and running before they'll do it, probably because it's such a draw on the battery, and that makes good sense. Now, I can't say I remember exactly what I paid for this, but it was over $1,000 when I got the bars put on here. But I did not do the work myself. I had my friend who owns a shop do it, and he put on the bars, he put on the heated grips, he put on chrome controls all at once, and that included parts and the labor. On these, I didn't have to pay for it, but I can tell you the list price on these Twin Peaks from LA Choppers is $378. Another measurement that's important for you to reference if you go to the dealership and you're trying to imagine where your hands would be is how far is the pullback from the fairing. Now, they don't give you exact pullback dimensions on LA Chopper's website, so what I did was measure from the top of the fairing on the inside of it back to the center of the handlebars at the outermost point. On the 2024 with the LA Choppers, the end point of the handlebars at the widest point is about 9.5 inches back from the center of the fairing. You could have someone hold a tape measure, put 9.5 inches in there, kind of put your hand in there at an angle like they would be on the handlebars, and get an idea of how you would be sitting. And then you could go up or down from that point. I really like these LA Choppers, highly recommend them. I think they're a great fit. They're not super aggressive. In this case, I didn't go real high. I'm not sure how high you can go, but I think they saw 14s or 16s on the website as probably the highest. These 12s were kind of in the middle when you were looking at the options. I'll leave a link down below to LA Chopper's website where you can go check them out if you want to know more about them. Now, we have a lot more mods coming. I talked about the rider triangle. For me, without highway pegs on here, I'm finding that I'm not real happy with the stock seat. After 200 plus miles, I need to stop and stand up, move around, get my butt off the seat, raise up. Without highway pegs, I can't take that pressure off my butt as easily. This bike I've had highway pegs on forever. It was one of my first upgrades, and I can put a little pressure on those highway pegs and relieve a little pressure on my butt. So probably the next mod I'm doing on here is getting my highway pegs on, and we'll see if I find that the stock seat is more comfortable. Maybe I just don't have it broke in yet, but I've been running the stock seat on this bike all summer, and I can ride 400 miles, and I don't have the discomfort I've had with this seat after 200 miles. Maybe it's just not broke in. If you guys have broke in a 2024 stock seat, let me know how your first 500 to 1,000 miles felt, and did the seat get better after you rode it longer? All right, guys, please subscribe to the channel if you're not already, especially if you'd like to see more mods on the 2024 Streetglide or reviews, comparisons, that kind of stuff. I'm going to be doing a lot of that stuff this winter. So tune in. Thank you for your support. And as always, keep on riding. We'll see you in the next one.